morning, everyone. Welcome to the bylaws consultation hosted by the EC. I would like to start with housekeeping rules. Firstly, my name is Melody. I will be the facilitator for the consultation today. This will be an open mic consultation, and as any session we have in the conference, please abide by the code of conduct, whether you are participating in person or online. During the open mic section, I request for anyone who would like to speak up to please state your name and affiliation before asking a question or making a comment. And this applies for participants in Zoom as well. Without further ado, I would like to invite Kenny, our EC chair, to give us an overview of the bylaw reforms and to share with you the current state of it now.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kenny Huang, Chair of APNIC Executive Council. It's my great honor to introduce the overview of bylaw reform and also give an overview about the current state. Okay. So the overview of bylaw reform, that's because in response to community feedback, the APNIC Executive Council is conducting a consultation on two potential amendments to the APNIC bylaw. The first potential amendment will be extend EC member term from 2 to 3 years. Second potential amendment will be introduce term limit of 3 terms for EC member. So that's two potential amendments so far has been proposed. So the current state, we have been running the first consultation. As a result, EC decided to pursue the extension of EC term from 2 years to 3 years. And EC believe, however, further consultation is required on the proposal to introduce term limit and its implementation. So today we probably will focus on the detailed implementation and happy to get your voice. Thank you very much. I pass over to Melody.
So the first question we're asking is the structure of term limits. Should EC members be limited to 3 terms with no possibility of re-election? Or should they be eligible to seek re-election after a cooling off period of 1 or 2 years? So here are some considerations for you to think about with the hopes that you will be able to share your feedback during the open mic section. Term limits are designed to bring new people and ideas into the EC, but they also mean experienced EC members will eventually leave. Whereas some people may believe EC members should serve a maximum of 3 terms and then step down permanently. Or you might think that EC members should be allowed to return if they wish to have a break in between. A strict limit encourages renewal and diversity, while a break period allows for the community to bring back experienced leaders if they wish to. So we would like to take open mic for the first question we would like to put forth to the community.
Hi, Tina Morris from AWS. I have experience with the term limits with the possibility of seeking re-election later from my time on the NANOG board. We have strict term limits of 6 years, so 2 3-year terms, and then you must take, I believe it's a year off. I don't see a lot of people returning after that 6 years. And it gives a chance for new blood to come in to the organization and change things. But having that option to come back, if somebody has a particular skill set or the board needs them, I think is good. But the one thing you said was if they want to return, they could, but also the community has to want them to return, right? They have to get voted in, and that's really important. So in a year, they're not an incumbent, they have to run again and get reelected. So there's a lot of factors there. It's not a guarantee they will immediately get back on and do another 3 terms in a row. I think leaving that door open for them is a good thing to do.
Thank you, Tina.
Rupesh from Internet Exchange Nepal, NPIX. Uh, I think I know that we discussed this in the last meeting as well, but I need to understand a little bit more on the concrete rationale behind increasing the number of years in of tenure as well as number of times the person will be re-elected. Um, at one time, we are saying the person is important and he needs to have 3 years period to gain the experience. But if he is very experienced and if he's like a good resource to have for the community, why are you limiting it for 3 years only? Doesn't these two things contradict each other? If it's about the experience, I think it's contradictory that you're putting both the increasing the number of years as well as cutting down of the number of years. Number one. Number two, my counter proposition could be why not we start with the first term as 2 years, and if the community feels that he is a good candidate to be in the EC based on whatever he's contributed, his second term or third term can be for 3 years. So maybe that way we are emphasizing that the experience or whatever knowledgeable candidate or the candidate who has created value for the community as well as the organization can have like 3 years term from the second term onwards. That's basically what I felt. I have few other questions probably after this thing. I'll just put it up for.
Thank you, Rupesh.
Hi, Tina Morris again, AWS. One comment is it could be he or she as a board member, not just he. And the other is 3 years is an excellent term because as a new person coming in, you need that first year to ramp up, to really understand the dynamics of the board, and then 2 years to be effective. If you only have a 2-year term, it is often that second year, you don't even know if you'll be continuing, your efforts will be continuing the following year and your campaigning and all of that. Because being reelected is far from a guarantee. And what was the other? Oh, and having variable term lengths gets really tricky when somebody is, it just makes the whole dynamics of the quantity of people on the board very difficult.
Thank you, Tina.
Yeah, this is Venkat Ramanan from ISPI India. We also agree to the fact that EC members to be limited to 3 terms. And also, the cooling period can be 1 year because they have been continuously doing work which can help in what you call making all the policy decisions and other thing practical, because it takes times here for any policy decision to be initiated or completed. So this will definitely help the process. Thank you.
Matthew from Leap Talent Australia. I want to say that I support the idea of going to 3 years. We found with the Internet Association that 3 years, similar to the feedback given regarding NANOG, just works out quite well. It allows a person to get experience their first year and actually achieve some things in their second and third year before they're running for re-election. So it actually allows things to progress rather than a constant election cycle that the members are going for. The point I wanted to make was just to make sure that we still have a staggered election cycle so that we're not replacing too many people on the board at the same time or the EC at the same time, so that we do get that continuation of knowledge being passed to new people coming in rather than a complete new lot coming in and finding themselves being overwhelmed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shyam Nair, ISP Association of India. It's a welcome step for 3 terms, of course, and I think the cooling period should be not more than 1 year. But I think this position is a voluntary position, first of all, and no re-election after that is not actually, doesn't make any sense. So because the person has have capacity, he has served the community, and he's having every right to come back and serve the community. And PNIC has got a very, a rigid election procedure, which is actually very effective election procedure. So if he is effective, the community should elect him back. This is my session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jonathan Brewer, Telco 2, APNIC member.
Sorry, John, I need you to come closer to the mic.
Jonathan Brewer, Telco
Yeah.
2, APNIC member from New Zealand. I think if we have the option of extending terms from 2 to 3 years on the table, then we should be considering a hard limit in years, and 6 years would be an appropriate hard limit. I don't support a cooling off period and then an extension because we have 4.5 billion people in this region. And as special and wonderful and smart as our EC members are, they are not necessarily better than everyone else out there who could be serving. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Hi there. Bill Sandiford from the Aaron Board of Trustees, Board Chair for Aaron. I've been asked by a couple people to just sort of share Aaron's experience in this regard. We made some changes a few years back with regards to term limits. Just to clarify, I have no opinion on whether or not APNIC should or should be doing this. I'm not here to try and push Aaron's will on you, but I do have some experience on how another RIR went through these similar topics a few years ago. So at Aaron, we implemented about 4 years ago, if I'm correct, term limits of 3 consecutive terms for board members with a cooling off period of 2 years before a board member can rerun. We looked at lots of things like, should people not be allowed to rerun? Is there lots of other people that could serve? And what we found is that just because there is lots of other people that are served, they don't always step forward and come forward to do so. So we left it in the hands of the community that if somebody chose to come back after a 2-year cooling off period, they could do so. One of the other questions that we had to grapple with was, do we implement the term limits policy immediately, or do we make it retroactive? Do we start fresh from the day that the term limits came in? What we decided to do was implement the policy in a way such that any serving board members could seek, that would otherwise be subject to the term limits, could seek one more term before the term limits kicked in. And I'm the perfect example of that. So at the time the term limits were implemented, I was in my 8th year serving on the board. Had that policy have gone into place immediately, my term on the board would have come to an end approximately 4 or 5 months later. And the community discussed it and decided that that didn't really seem like the right thing to do in terms of board continuity, succession planning, all those other good governance principles that you want with your board. So we made a decision that those who were currently serving, who would otherwise hit the term limit at the end of their current term, could seek one additional term. And that happened. And again, I'm the perfect example of it. December 31st of this year, which also happens to be my 50th birthday, my time on the Aaron board comes to an end as a result of the term limits. And I will then be subject to a 2-year cooling off period. And I've thought about whether or not to come back again, and haven't made a decision one way or another. I can tell you that those on the board and those who have spoken at the Aaron community seem to think that this policy will serve us well. We haven't fully seen it yet because I will be the first one to hit a term limit, but we've seen excellent renewal in our board, new board candidates step forward, new blood coming into the organization, and all indications appear to be at this point that it's going to work as planned and bring proper renewal to the board, allow new people an opportunity to step up, and then allow those who have that cooling off period to come back should they choose to do so. Again, I'm only here to share with you our experiences at Aaron, not trying to suggest that you should or should not do what we did, but we do have some experience in this area and we're willing to share with you our thoughts and our experiences should you wish them. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Morning, everyone. Subhasha Marok from the APNIC Secretariat. We have a comment on Zoom from Mr. Oscar Robles in his personal capacity. The comment is, on the consideration slide, you listed only the pros, but you should think about the cons. Asking an executive council to step down after 9 years means the APNIC EC is losing 9 years of experience and organizational history. Losing 2 members or 3 for the same reason may have significant impact on the organization, not only in the EC. So make sure to have them returning to the EC as soon as possible and stagger the exits. Thank you.
Thank you, Oscar. Please, John.
Jonathan Brewer, New Zealand. I would like to point out a very significant difference between Aaron and APNIC, and that is the presence of NIRs in our community, and the fact that a number of our EC members are also employed by NIRs. So we have a very different set of people serving as board members between Aaron and APNIC.
Noted. Thanks, John. Tina?
Hello, Tina Morris, AWS, also on the Aaron board for transparency. Speaking to the losing knowledge, that 9 years of experience, boards have options to bring people in to advise on issues and to contact those previous board members. Speaking as somebody that served as a volunteer capacity on several organizations for many, many years, anytime somebody from that organization has reached out to me for history, advice, why did you do it this way? I am always there and willing to give back and do that. And I guarantee the board members you have in this community are wonderful in that same way and would do those same things. There is a fatigue that happens that people don't always realize is happening to them after a certain amount of serving. And I think forcing somebody to take a break once a decade is a very reasonable thing to do. Yeah, so yes, and they can come back if they choose to. I think oftentimes moving into an advisory role while a new board member steps in is good. Also, knowing the term limits are coming up, I will use Bill as an example. When people are looking at whether they have an option to join the board or not, if they know there's a strong incumbent, they don't even try. When they know somebody's term, they're terming out, they know there's at least one seat that won't be have an incumbent challenging them, or they're not removing somebody that they think is adding great value. They know there's an open seat, and that will bring people forward to run for the board better than ever competing against incumbents when they don't feel like they can win.
Thank you, Tina. Are there any more questions or comments on this slide? I'll just put on the considerations text again, just to help with your thinking at the moment.
Rupesh again, from NPX. Just a thought process. We have some contradicting comments, right? So we have, I have some proposal. Somebody from Argentina mentioned that she's not for it, but question.
Sorry, I missed that last sentence, Rupesh. You want to understand?
I want to understand how the consensus will be reached if we
Yeah.
have contradicting
Yes,
theories around
yes.
this hall.
Kenny, would you like to share how the EC will make a decision? Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's a very good question. Basically, we try to have extension for the public consultation. The reason is to try to get a more voice from a member. So basically, all the input were put into consultation. Eventually, APNIC EC will make a final decision to move the proposal for public decision. So eventually, so far we have 2 proposals. But today's meeting, we will focus on the detailed implementation to see how we're going to design a detailed implementation if everything go to effective. So every input will be considered by the EC.
Thanks, Kenny. And the consultation period isn't going to end this year in this room. It will extend to the end of September. So for those who weren't able to join us in this room or online, are also able to share their feedback on the mailing list, APNIC mailing list. If there's no other questions, I will move on to the second question the EC would like to put forth to the committee. Application to current and former EC members. Should term limits apply immediately, allowing current terms that we have right now to be completed? Or should there be a grace period, for example, one additional term? Or should the limits apply only to terms served after the adoption of the new rules? Here are some considerations for everyone to think about. If the new term limits are introduced, the question is, how do we then apply? One option is to apply the limits immediately after the current EC members finish. Another is to allow a grace period, such as one extra full term before the changes take into effect. A third option is to start counting terms only after the new rules are adopted. Immediate application shows strong commitment to change, but it may result in abrupt changes and the loss of knowledge and experience. Or the community can also consider a phased approach that could make the transition a little bit more smoother and allows more stability as the effects come into place. We would like to take comments and questions for the final question that EC would like to ask the community.
Yeah. Pankaj Chaturvedi, ISPAI. Sorry, I came late. So, but for the specific question, anything which the EC or the community decides has to be prospectively, it cannot be retrospective. So if the decision is taken on this proposal, it has to be from a future date. It cannot be from the past, number one. Number two, for the previous thing, if I may be allowed to comment, I believe definitely there should be a term which should be fixed. Like if you're talking about 9 years period, I think that is a good enough period, and there should be a cooling period that will at least in that year or during that we will have more people who would be keen on joining the board or at least showing some interest. And if there is a cooling period, fine. That and again it is a democratic process. If he gets votes, the member is in. If he doesn't get vote, he's out. So yes, the term can be there can be a limit, a cooling period, and specifically for this particular question, it cannot be from the past date. It has to be a future date. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Tina Morris again, AWS, which we are members, by the way, so I'm not just speaking for my Aaron hat here. I am for the phased approach or the one more term max, not starting from scratch at this, where it would be 9 years. Assuming we switch to 3-year terms, it'd be 9 years before we saw the first term out is too long. I would like to see perhaps, because we're on 2 years term now, that everybody that's currently on the board has the option to seek one more term. Should they want to. I think this is also a perspective of the current seated board members too. Some of them might actually not mind terming out, to be honest. I know there's been times when I've been serving in a role that termed out, and knowing I had a break coming up was kind of nice. But phased or one more term, but not start from scratch in, a year when this is implemented or whatever. That's too long.
Thank you, Tina. I'll go to Rupesh and then Matthew.
Yeah, I agree with Tina. So it can be for the existing, we can have one more grace period, but and then after that a cooling period, and then they can continue again. I don't agree that another 3 years, 3 years term, another 3 terms effective from today would be applicable. So I think it should be for the existing existing EC, and a grace period would be more advisable. Thank you.
Thank you, Rupesh.
Matthew Philippe Tell. Yeah, I agree with what's been said. Starting a new cycle, so 9 years before everyone terms out, would be a very bad idea. It doesn't actually it pushes renewal off for far too long if everyone stays. It also means that we have this cliff of knowledge that could potentially depart if everyone stayed their whole term. I'd be in favour of a phased approach. And without knowing any of the term, how long the existing EC members have been there, I would say that look at trying to blend it over the 9-year period so that you have people coming off at different points depending on how long they've been there, just to make sure that experience is spread out rather than it just being a complete changeover in a very short period. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew.
Hi, Tarun from ISVI. The question is about that whatever policy you intend to apply, I think there is no doubt it should be applied prospectively, not retrospectively, so that all the members have the opportunity to decide what do they want to do. The second, you want to fix up a terms seems to be fair. You want to fix up some sort of a grace period seems to be fair, but I really don't know why we want to restrict a particular individual not to, go for another elections. If he's competent and it's a small community, let's do that. Because at the end of the day, everything is been decided transparently. There is a voting mechanism, and if the member decides that they want to choose that particular individual, we should not disallow that person. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill?
Hi, thank you. Bill Sandiford, Aaron Board of Trustees. Again, just here to share experiences that Aaron had when we went through this. So we ultimately chose the one additional term model. And just to clarify, that was only one additional term for those that would otherwise be hitting the term limits. If somebody was only in their first term or second term or something like that, obviously they would have been able to get up to the full 3 terms of 3 years each in our model. And what that allowed for was that at a minimum, the existing members would be there for 4 to 6 more years. So for example, if somebody was in the first year of their second term on the board, they would be allotted one more term beyond their current term. So they would have 3 years of their current term to go through, and then an additional 3 years of their last term to go through. And that really took away the fear of a cliff effect of losing knowledge. And it gave the board plenty of time to prepare for that. We've known that this was coming up in my case for 4+ years. There's been plenty of time to transfer knowledge to new board members into other ways. And as Tina said as well too, we've encouraged board members that are leaving, whether from term limits or otherwise, to be willing to be available if anybody needs those knowledges. So again, just sharing experiences that we had with Aaron and why we chose to go the one more additional term if you would otherwise hit your limits once the policy went into place. And again, it's been 4 years since we put the term limits into place, and we're only hitting the first board member in that scenario now, which happens to be myself. So there we go.
Thank you, Bill. Any final comments, questions?
Sorry, Rikash Chand, speaking in personal capacity as a next-gen BOF, aspiring to maybe one day make EC. Maybe, I mean, all the ideas that were shared were pretty great, but just a thought from my side for the young ones. If we could get an opportunity to shadow the EC so that we can prepare if we get voted in. So maybe have a program on the side that, has candidate EC members that can shadow the actual EC to learn. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope to see your nomination one day. It's really encouraging to hear. Are there any other comments? Do you have one? Okay, we'll take this one last one and then we'll have to close.
Yeah, so Amit Kushwaha from ISPI. So just wanted to say one thing, that if you are trying to implement it from the very day, it will lead to a lot of disruption and sudden changes, and the experience might go away. So it is always understandable that we should do it from a prospective date, and all members are free. It's a fair and free election. So why restrict anybody from getting a re-election after even having a cooling period of 1 year? So I think that should not be a mandate that he should mandately exit from the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rupesh again. When you're saying closing, you're closing the session or you're just closing the topic?
Closing the session.
Okay, so I have something
Yes,
like
please,
AOD
go ahead.
part.
One last
AOD
one.
part, so not regarding this. Maybe this question might be more pertinent to the AMM period, but I'll just bring it up right now, since we're talking about the bylaw changes. We've been discussing and we've been talking about making the EC more inclusive in the sense we don't have the female participation in the EC. We do not have the small economies in the EC. So we need to talk about those changes as well in the bylaws. One of the things that probably would make sense is to have some kind of a nom-com, and then they select some of the female candidates is not coming from the bigger economies. Then we make sure that they are selected by the EC and the nom-com. So female as well as from the smaller communities. For that, if we have to increase the EC from 7 to 9, I really don't care, or decrease it to five. I don't really care. So 5 people nominated from the EC by election, and the nom-com select 1 female and 1 from the smaller economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Rupesh.
So I was about to take the mic for this specific subject. Yes, the underserved economies, they need to be encouraged to come and join the discussions, the policies, otherwise only the large, holding votes are, the economies holding the votes are able to send their their candidates into the EC. We definitely want to encourage these small economies like our friend from Oceania. He may not have enough number of votes for him to, earlier the number of votes for the EC used to be some 1,400 or you're a big winner. Now it is 4,000. So, so I don't know how will he ever achieve a number of 4,000. I wish him luck. But there should be, yes, if the number of board members can be increased by way of, I don't know what the Australian law says, but it should be considered. And like what Rupesh Bhai said, that either by way of nomination or some criteria, definitely for other one is for the ladies and the other is for underserved economies. Thank you.
Thank you. I might go for the Zoom first. Thanks, Tina.
Subhasha Maruk from APNIC Secretariat. We have a comment from Zoom. It's Alban Kwan in his personal capacity. I believe it is good corporate governance practice to have term limits. However, I'd like to comment that board members require not only technical experience, but also financial, managerial, and other governance skills. We also differ from other corporations that a board should have intimate and deep understanding of the community. The community may need time to build capacity to ensure good governance is maintained, so a phrased approach to implement whatever is the agreement seems better. Also, the possibility to cool off and seek election again might be appropriate as long as a minimal number of newer members are maintained. Thank you.
Thank you. Tina, we'll have to close with you.
Okay. Tina Morris, AWS. Thoughts on the diversity element. I don't like mandating it because it kind of diminishes the people in those roles that they're just selected for the item of diversity. I think as a whole, the NOMCOM or whoever's sourcing candidates should be thinking of diversity of thought, big companies, small companies, big countries, smaller countries, all of the challenges should be represented along with gender and ethnicity and everything else should be, we're never going to represent everybody all the time, but I don't want to create a tokenism situation. I would encourage when looking to create diversity, look around you, find the really amazing rock stars that you can encourage and get into roles where they're up on the stage and they're known by the community. So eventually they'll be electable as an ESIM member. All of us can go find and increase diversity in our meetings and the participation.
Thank you, Tina. Rupesh, 1 minute.
Rupesh, again, this is a different economy over here in Asia Pacific. It's different than the Europe or American economy. So female as well as this gender has to be encouraged and make them inclusive before they come forward on their own. Thank you.
Thank you, Rupesh. All right, I will have to close the session because we need to make sure the policy 6 starts on time. But there has been some really good suggestions as well as contradicting comments. So if you do feel strongly about any of the items that has been raised today, or you would like to add your own, please do add them on the APNIC Talk mailing list. You can share your feedback until the 26th of September. So I hope this session has helped you to consider a lot of the implementation side of the bylaw reforms that the EC would like to change. And thank you so much for all of your questions and your comments, both in person and online. I'll just get Kenny to come up to say closing remarks, and we can start straight away with the policy 6. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Melody. And also especially thank you for all your dedication and participation. I think the discussion is incredibly valuable, and not only to the EC, but also to the community. As just mentioned, because we just collect the input by the community, and we will collectively integrate all the input together into a proposal. But eventually, the bylaw reform should follow the bylaw reform policy development process. So we will follow the process to see what would be the final outcome from the community. Anyway, thank you very much for your participation and dedication. Thank you very much. So we conclude the session today. Thank you.